Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kind for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. How are my peeps doing? I trust everybody's doing just fine. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show. Let me get to the right chat. There we go. Welcome aboard in the house. AVQ from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard. Michael Rudnin. We also have in the house Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. He says, meow. Lead Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Welcome aboard. We also have Bridge MCP. Says she has something for the screen already. Bridge from Binghamton, New York. We also have in the house Steigen Bergen Greek. Welcome aboard from Steigenberg. Why don't I know where you're from? Drop that in the mail for me. I think you're from Oregon, right? Eric Hayes from Atascocita Kingwood is in the house. Let's see what else we have. Okay, we're still populating. Anyhow, did my email go out? I had a little mishap in the beginning of the program. Let's see if that's going to go out, or will I have to requeue it? I may have to requeue, but if we have to requeue, we will requeue. Anyhow, folks, how are my peeps doing? I trust everybody's doing fine. Let's see. Starting with El Señor Rudnin, he says, Rolling Stone, no King's Day. Protesters denounce Trump and Musk. Public backlash against a reactionary Trump agenda spilled into the streets on President's Day. Demonstration from New York to Atlanta to San Francisco have been taken to the streets Monday in the largest mass protest. The beginning of the second Trump administration looks like I missed the big one. Multiple cities each had thousands of protesters. Yep, they did. And I'm glad to see we are getting a bit of coverage of it. So I think that is actually very, very, very good. Michael also said, AP, Russia and US agreed to work towards ending Ukraine war in remarkable diplomatic shift in an interview with the Associated Press. After the meeting, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the two sides agreed broadly to pursue three goals: to restore staffing at their respective embassies in Washington and Moscow, to create a high-level team to support Ukraine peace talks, and to explore closer relations and economic cooperation. Wow. He stressed, however, that the talks, which were attended by the Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov and other senior Russian US officials, marked the beginning of a conversation, and more work needs to be done. Of course, it's amazing that we didn't have anybody there from Ukraine, right? Wow, what a thing. That makes no sense. The Kiev Independent US is saying things that are very pleasant to Putin. Zelensky warns against peace deal without Ukraine's participation ahead of US-Russia meeting. President Vladimir Zelensky warned against a hastily negotiated peace deal from the Trump administration during a wide-ranging interview with German media network ARD, published February 17th, reaffirming that Ukraine would not accept a peace deal negotiated with the country without the country's involvement. Zelensky said everything that Russia and the US can agree on, if they even want to agree on something concerns their bilateral relationships, they certainly cannot negotiate about our people, our lives. Exactly right. You can't blame them for that. Bridge MCP wants this on the screen, so let's go ahead and get it on the screen. What she wants on the screen says let me post it to the screen. Here it comes. It says the following. Musk. Oh, why is it not on the screen? Come on,
Our
screen.
people, our lives. Exactly right. You can't blame them for that. Bridge MCP wants this on the screen, so let's go ahead and get it on the screen. What she wants on the screen says Let me post it to the screen. Here it comes.
Bear with me,
It
guys.
says the following.
I have
Musk,
an issue here.
why is it not on the screen? Come on,
Let's make
screen.
sure. Okay, I think I got that fixed. Okay, there we go. There we go. Musk posted 14 flags at 1414 on Trump's post about law not applying to those who save the country. That's a dog whistle for 14 words, a well known white supremacist slogan. I didn't know that. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. It is frequently used in a far right and neo Nazi circles, and the number 14 has become a coded reference to white nationalist I white nationalist ideology. Thanks for that. But we know he's a racist. They just try to play that around as if as if this is normal. That's what they constantly do, Vrij, as if this is normal. All right, continuing, what we've got is uh okay, I think I just put that on the screen. Let's see what else we have here. By the way, Vrij has a link that you can put in there. All right, we also have Patrick Magner says a society that has to go 1.2 trillion into debt to live a failed society. It's funny, right? It's funny. All right, J Ray says Egberto and the posse. Yep, welcome aboard, J Ray, to the program. J Ray's from Houston, Texas. Magner is from Houston, Texas as well. May Wood is in the house from Long Beach, California. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome aboard. Lee the Beer Cat is in the house from Austin, Texas. He says the Ukraine president has a moratorium on elections. If the war ends, will his presidency? I think there's a good chance it is. Let's see what else we have here. Patrick Magner says the two sides don't include the country invaded. It's funny, isn't it? Alice Allen Dreams is in the house from Summerwood, Texas. Summerwood in Texas. Welcome aboard, Alice Allen Dreams. She says, does anyone else think we are at war, but it's from within digitally? Yes, we are at war. We've been at war for several years now, my dear Alice Allen Dreams. You are correct. Paul Fleming says America used to be the home of the brave in World War One and World War Two. Not brave at most people were not brave are most people that were have elected leaving the courts to do the heavy lifting. It's a shame. It's a shame, but you are absolutely right. Paul Fleming's also saying new. Oops, I scroll past. New. As predicted, Judge Ho has ordered a hearing for 2 p.m. this Wednesday to explore why the DOJ has moved to dismiss the charges against Mayor Eric. Now, I have three pieces that I have from 2 days of my KPFT show. The first one has to do with the rigged economic system. I want to go ahead and play that now. I got some little backup work to do here to get something going. So here we go. Bear with me 1 second as I get this going. You hear all the time the economic system is rigged and all that kind of stuff, and you hear the words, right? But because of the indoctrination we have received from the time we were born, somehow we believe that this is the way things are supposed to be. But let me just tell you, the formula that governs our economy, everything in life has a formula that governs it. Everything from blood flow in your body to the way plants grow to an economic system. There are formulas that dictate what and how things happen. And let me just give you a simple formula that defines capitalism. This is very important because capitalism without a strong regulatory structure behind it will always, by design, take your money, and I mean this wholeheartedly. It'll take your money, your wealth, and move it to the few at the top. That is the formula by definition. And let me just give you this. The American economic pie and the world economic pie is constantly growing. Make this picture in your head, a pie, and that pie constantly growing. And let's say that pie is constantly growing at 2 or 3%. But notice that whenever you go to an investor or investment banker or whatever, they'll tell you, we can grow your money at 7%, or we can grow your money at 20% a year, or all these numbers they give you. Well, guess what, everybody? This is simple math. When I tell you that it's a rigged system, simple math. If the economy in the aggregate, in the whole, is growing at simply 2%. And those wealthy people, those who have access to capital, those who have all these stocks and they don't work much, but they have a lot of capital. If they're growing at 7, at 8, 9, 20%, that is coming out of the same pie that is only growing at 3%. And this has been happening for decades after decades after decades. And, we see it. Because that means a portion of the pie that all of us in America owns, the working class, slowly gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's what's happening. That is what we call income inequality and wealth disparity. The formula of the current economic system constantly moves our wealth, our income to the top, and we get less and less. That's why it used to be only daddy worked. Then it was daddy worked and mommy worked part-time. And then it was daddy worked and mommy worked. And then it was daddy worked and got a lot of overtime and mommy worked. And then it was daddy worked overtime, mommy worked overtime. Children, as soon as they can work, they get a job, and everybody tries to get that household going. And then it was, we got that household going, but now cousin Ed and cousin Peter moves in to help pay the bills because they can't afford it on their own. And then it keeps moving like that as we have to shrink so that the top gets more. And I mean, if you're an engineer and a lawyer and all of the things are okay so far, but you represent 10% of the country. 80% of the country is in dire straits. 60% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck. We want to solve that problem, but we've been indoctrinated into believing that things had to be the way they are today. Folks, it doesn't have to be.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely so, folks. Look, let me get back to my chat. So yeah, it's a rigged economy, and we have to be clear about it. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Going back to read what you guys are saying here. New York governor may fire the mayor. I don't know. I wonder if she will. That is such a touchy situation, Bridge. I wonder what's gonna happen. I'm twiddling my fingers. Let's see what else we have. We have Alisaran Dream says, does anyone else thinks we? Oh, I read that one already. Let's see what else we got here. Stag and Brick, that's a conversation. Coward is resigning in protest. Fighting is getting fired in protest. Pushing back by staying on the job you were hired to do. Exactly. Jay Ray say that's a good point. We always worried about cyber hackers and thieves outside countries, and meanwhile, all they need was a Trojan horse like Trump to slither past. Yeah, our data is as good as dead, right? Or rather, is as good as being dispersed around the world right now. What do you think Elon Musk, the South African, is going to do with all that data that he now has? Your social security number, every checking account that you have, every investment account that you has, he has it. A private citizen now has everything about your investments accounts, your social security accounts, everything about you is now known not only by career politician, rather career folks in the government who knows how to keep your security, but also a private citizen who owns several corporations, including many in China and elsewhere. And you want to talk about getting rid of TikTok? And you think that TikTok is really a threat? Come on, folks, wake up. The threat is from within. The threat is from within, and we're seeing it actively right now. Let's see what else we say. Social Security from Bridge MCP. Social Security head steps down over Doge. Access of recipient information. AP sources say the Social Security Administration acting commissioner has stepped down from her role at the agency over Department of Government Efficiency requests to access Social Security recipient information, according to two people familiar with the official's departure who were not authorized to discuss the matter publicly. Acting Commissioner Richelle King departure from the agency over the weekend after more than 30 years of service was initiated after King refused to provide those staffers with the Social Security access they wanted. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. Like I told you guys, make the assumption that all of your data is available to everybody, which means, folks, be honest. I have a lot of friends, some friends who've done some hanky panky stuff, and I've always told them the one good thing I feel great about is I can sleep at night. I can sleep at night. If they expose all my data on to the world, the most I would say is, well, I got to watch everything to make sure people aren't trying to impersonate me. But as far as anything embarrassing, nah, I don't think so. Nah, 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 baby. All right. Leader Bearcat says pension plans and 401k stock, meaning normal people take part in the markets and want return on investment. So why not be happy for them? Or are they evil too, like billion? They're not evil at all. No, not at all. But as I explained before, Mr. Bearcat, when you say something like, I let my money work for me, we need to get honest about that statement. That is a false statement. Your money is an inert thing. It cannot work for you. Whenever you say, I let my money work for me, I say we have a certain a societal institutional way in our financial sector that allows people to put away money that earns something called interest, and that sort of thing called interest is me making money for letting the use of my money for other things. But what stockbrokers and the capitalists do is they do more than that. They do things like use that capital as a margin to take over a company, bleed it with death, collect that. I mean, there's a lot of magical thing done in that realm, folk, that you need to understand to get exactly what I'm saying, my dear brother. Again, capitalist structures, capitalist manipulation of paper. That is a form of legalized theft, and the reason it continues is because too many of us don't understand what goes on there. But anyhow, Egberto, generational wealth, just like compound interest. Yeah, I know, I know. I don't look. Generational wealth is one thing. In other words, I have a house. I would like to pass my house on to my daughter, right? But there has to be, for the mathematical formula of our economics to work, there has to be a stop gap to prevent that pie that I explained from continuously being biased towards just a few. It's a mathematical equation, folks. It's unsustainable, and the unsustainability means if you're a $400 billionaire, and Musk passes that to his kids, they get a running start of $400 billion, and they can only continue to take more than they are worth out of the economic system. That's legalized theft. That's a system. That's a poorly designed system that allows that by having had the genes passed to you from Elon Musk, from the money that he's legally stolen, you get to profit from that. That's not right. All right, nothing wrong with leaving a financial legacy for your family Why should the government or otherwise have it? They did not earn it, right? Neither did Musk. Musk didn't earn the $400 billion. You did. And that is where we have to get into people's psyche, Lee the Beer Cat. Musk did not earn that $400 billion. You see, if we start from a false premise, your statement makes sense, right? If we start from the false premise, your statement makes sense. But all he's doing is passing down stolen money. Legally stolen, but stolen albeit the same. All right, let's see. Adam say stays in place is it is a plug and play. Oh wow. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the house. Welcome, Melanie. All right, let's continue. I have another video, a very important video. All right, let's see. Patrick says, Alizarian, I'm not happy about it, but if you are upper middle class or lower, we were pulled into war to get by. I hear you, brother. I hear. Alizarian Dream says it keeps me up thinking they might figure a way to take my dollars. I am not worried about my skeleton. That is funny. All right, let's go ahead and hear the second video. This is an important one. I want you to listen to what uh uh Hirid Haradas, Anand Hirid Haradas had to say here. This is an important piece I want you to listen to. Here we go, and we are off to the game. Anand Hiradas, the publisher of The Ink, had a great piece out today in which he pointed out that we used to think of America being the land of the brave, but it just maybe ain't so anymore. Or maybe, was it really ever, or did we just have those who stood up for this country actually were the few brave ones? I don't know. I want you to listen to this piece, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Anand, you have a new essay out just this morning on The Ink entitled Home of the Brave. Really? And you write in part, quote this, as I write this, there are scattered and inspiring examples of bravery all around us. Prosecutors, judges, even the occasional lawmaker. But in the main, we are proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are not the home of the brave. We are a country full of people smilingly capitulating to a tyrant. You go on to write, maybe it was always a mistake to count on these big institutions to protect us. They haven't been for some time now. Yes, there are a handful of brave lawmakers, brave judges, brave media voices, brave others. But in general, it is now very clear after this first month that no one is coming to save us. It's time to take back our country, not only from this authoritarian nightmare, but also from the collaborators, too insipid and weak and chicken, you know what, too skinless and boneless to stand up for us.
This is a moment that is actually something the mayor said, Mayor Adams said, that got me thinking about this essay. He used two simple words to describe what you saw on that sofa. He said, I'm collaborating. I'm collaborating. Now, I don't know personally if the mayor has a sense of history, but anybody who does have a sense of history and is familiar with the history of authoritarianism around the world knows that I'm collaborating is a sentence with some meaning. And it got me thinking about the idea of collaboration and the fact that the mayor, who for the sake of his own narrow freedom, tried to make a deal to turn this city that is a city made of immigrants, America's immigrant city, into a city home to Trump's immigration raids. But collaboration really is a broader metaphor. We're seeing it with newspaper owners who won't stand up to Donald Trump. We're seeing it with companies that are settling lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits to appease Donald Trump to protect their wider commercial interests. We're seeing it with so many in the Democratic so-called opposition, where except for a few, exceptions like Senator Chris Murphy and AOC and others, most Democratic lawmakers turn out to have no spine, but that was not disclosed on their medical forms. And we're just seeing again and again and again, with these scattered exceptions that are very important, some prosecutors and others, we're seeing that we're just not that brave a country in our core. And I think it's a different self-image than the self-image we have. I think Americans think of themselves as brave. We think of ourselves as the country that stood up to authoritarianism and fascism in World War II and saved Europe. We think of ourselves as a country full of spine. And we are seeing again and again, whether it's the mayor, whether whether it's leaders of media, whether it's CEOs stripping out the diversity programs, throwing their own employees under the bus, whether it's university leaders not standing up for their faculty. This is a country going boneless. And it's time, I think, for regular people to stand up, as they did yesterday in these 50-51 protests across the country. It is time for regular people to stop counting on people with too much, I guess, skin in the game to be brave.
But let's look at General Milley. Here's a guy who had his portrait taken down at the Pentagon, somebody that had his security taken away from him, despite the fact that he's at the top of the Iranians' hit list, along with Donald Trump, because of Soleimani's killing. Where's General Mattis? Where's Mad Dog Mattis? I haven't heard him say anything. Where are all the other generals that served with him, the admirals that served with him? Where are the people that served with this man? You don't become one of the highest ranking soldiers of your generation without fighting a lot of fights, being in a lot of foxholes, either literally or figuratively, with a lot of band of brothers and sisters. And yet the silence has been deafening from active duty, of course. They have a harder problem saying anything. But even all the retired generals and admirals that served with him through the years, silence.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we're learning is a lot of people think they're mad dogs, but they have no bark, no bite, and no claws. And they're actually just full of fear on the inside. They're wanting to collaborate. They're wanting to make deals. You know, I remember I took a class on cinema under authoritarian regimes when I was in college a long time ago. And what happened in all these movies was these officials who were brave at the beginning. I remember this scene in one of these Eastern European countries. Someone was brave at the beginning, standing up, and then somehow a nice, lovely piece of meat came to their dinner table from, I guess, the leader of the regime. And that was enough, you know? If you wanted to have nice things, you gave in. We know from history that's what allows society to go. We now know overnight that Elon Musk's Doge squad has his fingers in our grandma's social security accounts, already got IRS data. We are witnessing a full-scale anti-constitutional coup by an unelected billionaire on the screen, Elon Musk. And we're just learning that maybe we got to amend the song, because you can't be the land of the free if you're not willing to be the home of the brave.
Anand Giridharadas nails it. We are not the land of the brave right now, but the truth of the matter is we have to be the land of the brave if we are to get out of this mess that MAGA has erroneously put us in, that those of you who didn't vote has put us in, that those who has seeded the country to some of the most inept that has ever run this country. If we don't braven up and do what's necessary, we're in trouble. But you know what? I am seeing it. People are starting to realize that. And there are times that you just need to be given a kick in the butt to say, do you want to lose it all? Do you really want to lose it all? By having these oligarchs along with the felon take over the country, destroy all these institutions, all these programs that took decades to create to solve the problems of America. Are you going to allow lies, misinformation, deception to really destroy the country? It is time to be brave. Anand Giridharadas nails it. Yes, he nailed it. Yes, he nailed it. And you know who else nailed it? I love what Jen B. Well. Jen B. Well. Where are you from, Jen? Let me know what city you're in. I like to call people city and state out when I start the program. She says, how do we combat this? Why don't American people own a piece of any of the companies our tax dollars subsidize? Yes! We invest in oil companies. We should be part owners of the oil companies. We invest in all these medicines that gets put out there. We should be part owners of those companies so that all those profits, that way, if they want to raise their prices to whatever, we are getting a percentage of those price rises, and we also have input into what they can charge. Jen, be well. You are so right in that. And there are mechanisms to do that. Here's the funny part about it, right? You ever heard the term socialize the losses and capitalize the gains and the profits? That's what the corporatocracy likes, right? That is what the corporatocracy likes. What we Jan B. Well is from Carnes, Washington. Welcome to the show, Jan B. Well. And on the first day you come to the show, you get the honorary mention because, again, that was a smart notion right there. Yes, we invest so much into the corporatocracy. We should be part owners of a whole lot of stuff out there. And guess what? Our deficit would be completely and entirely gone. But that's not how they work. Like I've told you over and over again, the corporatocracy are nothing more than parasites onto the economy. Now let's talk to Lee the Bearcat, and this is another parasite concept here that I want to show you because I know where Lee's head is at. I'm not talking about Lee. I'm talking about the concept of fracking, right? Lee says fracking is the way energy companies can have smaller costs per barrel, and he's right. Smaller costs per barrel when you don't take into account the externalities that are caused by fracking. So let's go ahead and do it this way. Let's say you're drilling in the middle of the desert and you bore a hole and you bring out the oil, and when that is depleted, by the way, you put cement around your well so that you don't pollute the different layers of the earth. You don't pollute the water. So it's a well designed well that just goes there and it goes to the into the strata that has the oil, and you pull it out. And when there's no more oil, you fill it up with cement, you plug it, and no leakage. All of that is great, right? But then we talk about another later on, several decades later, folks say, you only can get 30 or 40% of that oil out there, but we can get up to 80% of the oil if we frack. So we are going to bore holes again into that well, and we are going to drill it all over the place and explode that, put explosive in there, or put pressure pumps with water and chemicals and wash the other oil that we couldn't normally get out, and we pull it out of there. We got more oil out of that well, and then when we're done, what do we do with all that wastewater? Oh, we find some rock and we pump that wastewater in the rock under high pressure and pray that we so much know the strata of that we think it's okay to put that water under pressure, and we pump it there and we leave. But what we've actually left is we've left a lot of crap in the ground that eventually gets into the water tables in the vicinity, such that people in West Texas right now have cattle dying because that water that was put 20 miles away shows up in that cattle ranch and it's bubbling up to the surface because you know what? Nobody knows the structure of all these rocks where they're trying to put all this wastewater in. So there are a lot of externalities. Now you got a lot of dead cattle. You have a lot of spoiled land that cannot be farmed anymore. Was that gas that you pumped out of that fracked well really worth the $3.50? Or do we apply the cost of all the damage we've done to the environment and the harm we've done to other people's land into the price of that gas to clean up the mess? You see, nobody talks about that, but that is what we talk about when we talk about externalities, right? The gas that we are paying $3.50 for isn't really worth $3.50. It's probably worth $10 a gallon if we talk about all the people that get sick with benzene and all of that at the plants, etc. So when you're profiting from that Exxon, you're getting your dividend from Exxon, you're forgetting of all those people out there that lost their lives, that got cancer, that got all these things that you are not going to take care of. So you are all those people that are making that money in their 401ks and whatever. None of that cost is in there. If we were ever to have that cost in there, oh my God. Now, also, my dear Lee Bearcat, I love to work. I work 16 hours a day, and I think a lot of people like the idea of working. So don't get the wrong premise, my brother. All right, come on in, our one and only Patrick Magner. How you doing, Patrick? Great to hear your voice. Are you there, Patrick?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm there. How are
there
you?
you go. Talk to me, my brother.
I wanted to get this started because one of the things that people voted for Donald Trump on it was the drill baby drill.
Oh yeah,
And well, first off, Lee the Bearcat said that there's nothing wrong with leaving something for your family, which is a little bit off path, but actually it's on point. I agree with him, but one of the ways that you can leave something for your family is to pay taxes and to put into society so that your society, local government, and federal government can build and maintain things for your children.
exactly.
So a tax on
In,
inheritance isn't
mhm.
bad, and I'd also like to point out that if you're of my class, my monetary class or caste, making my combined family probably makes $750,000 a year, something like that. It's not enough to escape the corporate net that swoops in when your parents get older. They take everything that your parents have, and they start
Yep.
taking from you, and then that what seems like is a good income is actually proven to not be enough to get by. But enough with that. I'll go back to the fracking. Fracking has never made money. Does the posse understand that?
No, they don't.
It
They
doesn't.
don't.
It doesn't make money. It hasn't made money, and it probably never will. The only reason why we continue to drill the way we do is because they take our taxes and they subsidize the fracking industry. The fracking industry has still been on a 0 interest rate since 2007. So they get a loan that even if they took that money and they didn't spend any money on it, it would still be making money because interest would outpace it. But they go out and they build a drill and they ruin people's water and they ruin some people's land, and then they pump something out that costs $1.50 for them to pump out, but it sells to foreign uh,
Purchasers.
entity, for $1. And so we're subsidizing fracking industries that is destroying our land base to sell fuel under the cost of production to a potentially dangerous foreign entity. And we do that for no benefit to us. And this is the same mind, the drill baby drill is the same person that is telling us that even though Texas is making hundreds of billions of dollars a year in wind energy, that we need to stop that. There's something wrong with the decisions that are being made right now.
Well,
Now,
it's all made because of the oil companies running the show, right? I mean, they're the ones that come in and say, "Hi, we'll keep giving the politicians money," right?
exactly. So because they've got bigger pockets, they're of better value than we are. But we're cheering on that system. We're perpetuating that system. I don't want to go too long because I'm sure you've got videos and things like that. But keep in mind that the most successful person in fracking killed himself in 2017 in a single car crash. He drove his truck into a bridge to kill himself the day after he was indicted for fraud.
There
That's
you
the
go.
most successful person in fracking.
I didn't know who was that. I don't remember who that is.
Abby something.
Okay.
I actually texted you a couple of videos about it, but fracking is a net loser, and as a social program, we could use it to heat our own homes, but to sell it below the cost of production to another country is asinine. And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to go just a little bit longer. To sell that to another country, you have to put it on a boat. And to put it on a boat, you have to put it through a phase change. You have to compress it into a tank, onto a tanker. That sometimes takes several weeks to a month. The amount of energy that goes into that is tremendous. Some say that you're using half a tanker's worth of fuel to compress that fuel onto that tanker. And the fact that it's compressed makes it a super weapon. Anybody that wants to attack one of those boats in a port has leveled the entire infrastructure.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of these things people don't know. Thank you for pointing that out, my dear brother. It's great that, like I said, we have the smartest listeners on the planet. Thank you, buddy.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. You know, I tell you, we have the smartest folks in the house. All right, let's see what else have we got here. What else have we got here? I'm scrolling down. You know, I missed some of your stuff, guys, but forgive me anyway. Para ver. We have Michael Rodney says Eric H. Oh, that's a message between him and Eric. I'm not going to go there. A judge will consider a request for 5 federal unions to temporarily block the Trump administration from carrying out mass layoff across government. That's good, but I don't think my hunch is that it's not going to be successful. Joel says a true narcissist would care for the environment. They'll suffer no bunker big enough nor strong enough. They're otherwise disturbed. Patrick Landman is a great show. Patrick Landman? I don't know what that is. You may have to explain. Patrick Lord Spending? I don't know. All right, let's see. 18 consecutive months of 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming. We might already be too late. Well, actually, we are too late. I think we have to look. We can't stop mitigating it, but we also have to start making plans for these larger hurricanes and these larger rainstorms and these larger firestorms. We have to mitigate it. We have to work with that. But at the same time, we need to create technologies to kind of turn this stuff around. But here, what can I say? Anyway, the last video that I have 2 more videos, but only have time for 1 more to play. And it goes, I'm going to play the No Billionaire video. I want you guys to, this is what I did this morning. I want you guys to give me your thoughts on this in the chat as it goes on. Here we go. I want to talk about how to cut the billionaires behind the coup, how to downsize those billionaires that are behind this current coup that's occurring in America. A peaceful coup, it would seem, but far from that reality. Americans these days don't much like billionaires. Our ultra-rich Americans overwhelmingly believe aren't paying enough in taxes. Polling earlier this month found that nearly 3/4 of the nation's likeliest voters, 74%, feel billionaires are paying too little at tax time. Just how concerned about billion-dollar fortunes have Americans become? Nearly half of us overall, Harris poll found last summer, would like to see a limit on wealth accumulation. Among Gen Zers, that support for limits on billionaires' fortunes runs all the way up to 65%. Billionaires, some 58% of Americans agreed in the same Harris poll, are becoming more like dictators. The share of Americans equating billionaires with dictators, given Elon Musk's current dominant role in the new Trump White House, is most likely running even higher. The best way to counter our ongoing billionaire coup, we might want to look east for some answers in run-up to Germany's February 23rd parliamentary elections that nation's left party Die Link has proposed, a detailed 5-step set of initiatives designed to cut the super rich down to democratic size. Before I read what their 5 points are, I want to let you know, no billionaire, and I repeat, no billionaire has earned it. And cutting billionaires down to size has nothing to do with innovation. Because wherever they decide to sabotage, we the people can clean up any sabotage that they attempt to do with our funding. Instead of giving them a place to accumulate our dollars, we can spend those dollars to the real people that innovate. There are real innovators and they're not billionaires. But continuing, we believe the Dialink co-chair Van Aken notes simply in his intro to his party plan that there should not be any billionaires. And I agree, there should not be any billionaires because the monies billionaires have is theft. I know even some of my progressive brothers and sisters disagree with me. And that is because of the indoctrinative state that we are in. But no, the vast amount of any billionaire's wealth is legal theft. And notice I said legal because it falls under the domain of capitalism, but it is legal theft. All right, continuing. But Van Aken and Die-Link understand quite well that no government can suddenly snap its fingers and make billionaires disappear. The party has instead melded ideas from all around the world into a coherent and common sense package. The Die-Link plan step 1, restoring a wealth tax, meaning if you whatever wealth you accumulate, it should be taxed. In other words, don't keep it in stocks and claim you can only pay taxes on it when you get capital gains and realize the income. Germany has been without one since the nation's top court nixed the wealth tax in effect back in 1995. The proposed new version would revolve around an annual levy at 1% on wealth over 1 million euros, the equivalent of about 1.303 million, and a rising up to 12% on wealth concentrations above a billion euros. On top of that would come a special one-time wealth tax, also on a graduated scale, that would only impact Germans sitting on fortunes worth more than 2 million euros. The levy's top rate would hit 30% for awesomely affluent Germans in the proposal's highest wealth bracket. Germany's super rich would see under the Die-Link plan a higher inheritance tax on wealth they leave behind. And I believe inheritance taxes should be ridiculously high because, again, you cannot pass, when just passing wealth mean giving monies to people who haven't earned anything. I understand, for family's sake and history's sake, some of that. But again, you can't pass $1 billion down, but we'll go into that at another time. The overall goal of Die-Link tax plan, a halving of the wealth of Germany's wealthiest over the next decade. 3 other German parties on the left side of the German politics are also backing tax hikes on the wealthy, but at least not nearly as significant as Die-Link. Earlier, before I spoke about this article, I gave you the mathematical reason why we are in an unsustainable condition. If the wealth of those who have capital grow at 7 to 20% or more, and the wealth of the middle class and the working class grows at less than 3%, that means that upper class is cleaning your clock while you are the working class, while you are the ones working. They are making money on the spoils you created. We have to put into our psyche that having capital does not authorize you to be wealthy, because you have capital doesn't authorize you to enslave the rest. And that is what it is, indentured servitude of the rest. Elon Musk's favorite German party, meanwhile, sees nothing wrong in boosting the fortunes of Germany's most fortunate. That is just like what we're doing here in America, constantly giving tax cuts to people who then loan us the money for the deficits created by the tax cuts. Think about it, people. When Tag called in earlier and said, we have to learn when they are ripping us off. We have to learn when they are hoodwinking us. He is absolutely right. We have to understand that it is rigged. It's the reason I wrote the book, How to Make America Utopia. How to Make America Utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it. Because again, we have been living in a rigged economy from the inception of this country. First of all, in the voting methodology of this country, at first, only those who owned land could vote. So it was never really a democracy. As we democratize, the wealthy continue to create instruments to keep us down. And yes, it created a robust middle class under Roosevelt. And do remember at that point, taking the tax rate up for graduated tax rate, or rather a marginal tax rate for the highest amount of your income to 90%, which is where we need to get back. To put it bluntly, we need to go beyond 90% on certain types of income. Again, these people didn't do the work to make the money. These people didn't innovate. A lot of you are going to say, well, if we tax them like this, what's going to happen is they're going to put their money elsewhere. where are they going to go? The innovative mindset is here. The innovative mindset is in the working class around the world. That's where the innovative mindset is at. The innovative mindset doesn't come from the billionaires. I want you to hear me clearly. If it were the billionaires who were creating innovation, I would understand the fear of taking away the money they legally stole. I would understand the fear, but we are so convinced, we are so lied to. You know, the scientists that are working for Exxon and Mobil, the scientists that are working for IBM and all these guys, guess what they are, people? Salaried employees. The innovation, the creation that they come up with, it comes from salaried employees, not billionaires. It comes from salaried employments, the inventions, the patents, all the things that make our society go forward comes from salaried individuals, not billionaires, not the wealthy that sits down at their pool drinking their tea. So anybody who tells you taxing the billions of money that was legally stolen would somehow create a deficit in innovation, they're lying to you. In fact, most innovation occurs at universities and colleges. And when these innovations seem to be something that can be marketed, then comes the corporations and they bribe and they put a building in some professor's name, or all of that kind of stuff occurs then. Remember, corporations by design don't take a whole lot of risks. They take calculated risks that ultimately brings them money. We have to learn these things, my brothers and sisters. We have got to understand that the economy is rigged, that we have been snowed decade after decade from the inception of the country. The economic system was designed to make most people indentured servants and a few at the top. And the only reason that could be maintained is we had to create all the isms that put the working class against each other: racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia. All these things are designed to have us fighting each other so that we don't see the culprit, so that we don't see those who are ripping us off, so that we don't understand the reality of what's going on. And then, of course, you have those with the mindset that, as opposed to say, wow, I just didn't get it, but I get it now. They continue to carry the water for the same people that are ripping them off dry. Folks, wake up, be woke. That is why they don't want critical thinking. That is why they don't want you to be woke. That is why they don't want you to be able to read the books. That's why all these things in history, they don't want Americans to know. Because if Americans look back and said, did we really do that? Are we really doing that? Most Americans are good people. Most Americans are honorable people. Most Americans have a heart and empathy, but the system has been teaching them otherwise. Let's not fall for it, people. We are at an impasse. We're at a flex point. We're at a turning point. And this is where it's going to take you, all of us, working to get this system right, because we're going into waters we haven't been. We're going into an area that could reach near irreversibility. But it depends on you using your mind, your common sense to understand what's being done to you and what's being done in your name. Absolutely. So what's being done in your name? Well, folks, we are at 57 right now, just in from Paul Fleming, the of the food division of the FDA has resigned. A source says the division is tasked with ensuring that the country's food supply is safe. You know what else is funny, guys? We have a pandemic upon us with the H1 and with the bird flu that may be jumping into human beings. We don't even know it may be coming human to human transfer pretty soon. We have a Ebola. We have inklings of an Ebola crisis coming on. We have inklings of measles outbreak big time here in Texas and spreading. And we have Donald Trump as president, who completely botched COVID-19, who has already started botching our health system by really going to the CDC and disrupting it. Look, this guy is almost in to destroy this country. And what Anand Giridharadas had to say takes on a lot more meaning now. Are we going to sit down and just wait for the whip to hit, wait for the bullets to hit? And I'm talking figuratively now. Are we going to just sit down and let things happen, or are we going to prevent them, fight to prevent them from happening? We are watching them slowly destroy stuff. Are we supposed to let them, under the pretext that they won a landslide election that they didn't? It is time for folks to get up and mobilize. And I'm not only talking politicians, I'm talking we the people. It is time for us to mobilize. The guy destroyed us with COVID. He got over 400,000 people that shouldn't have died because of him. And now we have on the horizons three potential contagious disasters: bird flu, measles, and Ebola. And the president is Donald Trump. We can't say, Lord, help us. We need to help ourselves. We need to do what we need to do. It's time, folks. Anyway, folks, anyone listening to the program right now, I'd like to ask you to support it the best you can. The support that I'm asking for is either to click that join button and become a subscriber of our YouTube channel, become a part of the YouTube PDR posse, or you can support us via our Patreon. Our Patreon is at politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. But what I would love to see everybody who has the wherewithal to do, because it's so inexpensive, it's worth it, and you get a lot out of it, is to become paid subscribers of our newsletter. And how do you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter? You go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And by the way, all paid subscribers of our newsletter get access to all of these books that I've written, that you can read right there on the Substack platform. How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. It's worth it. How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative, Friends, and Neighbors. And of course, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And my story, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Racism Didn't Stop My Smile, Hope, or Journey Forward. If you actually want a hard copy of the book, just go to politicsdoneright.com/books. But anyway, folks, please subscribe to the newsletter. Please become a paid subscriber of our newsletter by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. I got an interview at 4:15 on an expert on DEI. I think you guys are going to like it. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.